everybody. Thank you for joining us for Authors on the Air. I'm your host, Deborah Ledford, and it is my absolute pleasure to feature Laurie L. on the program. Say hello to the folks, Laurie.
Hello, thank you for having me. I am what I like to say, your biggest fan. So I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're so kind. So my episodes for Authors in the Air primarily focus on Native American and Indigenous authors who present Native characters. I'm so thrilled you can join us to talk about your debut suspense thriller, Mask of the Deer Woman. Look, oh my gosh. And already the response is huge. So Mask of the Deer Woman is a USA Today's bestseller on the list. Amazon's first pick. And that is just huge. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit about Mask of the Deer Woman and the lead character, Carrie Starr?
Yes, I would love to. So Carrie Starr is an ex-Chicago detective who leaves town in a fog of grief to take a job that she really sees as a job of last resort. She's just trying to find somewhere to lay low and get her life back together. And where she ends up is on the Salaqua Nation, which is a fictional reservation in Oklahoma, right over the Kansas state line, where her father was raised. And once her father left, he didn't really speak of his life there, and she's very disconnected from that. And so when she returns there as a tribal marshal, a BIA tribal marshal, which builds tension into that situation already, she is almost immediately confronted with a missing college student from the reserve. And this really propels her into not only the culture and the community, but into her own grief and ultimately into a hopefulness.
Right. And as you mentioned, Carrie Starr is a former Chicago detective. And, it's because of past incidents. She's pretty much at the end of her career opportunities. Right. A tightly wound garage door spring ready to snap is what I say in my reviews. Her last gasp is as a Bureau of Indian Affairs investigator. I'd like to read just a little example where Carrie's journey is pretty much now from chapter 7. Hold on one. All she had to do was give the appearance that she could do her job, keep the peace, hang on until she knew what to do next, if there was a next. It didn't feel like it most days. She thought sometimes about putting the barrel of a Glock in her mouth, feeling the cold steel, in only a moment of doubt before blanking into sweet oblivion. But she wasn't ready to see her daughter, assuming there was an afterlife. Ooh. That is so powerful. I mean, you drop us directly into Carrie's mindset for what's to come.
Yes. And I really feel like she is, for me, so many of us, she, like so many people I've known, walks through this terrible time in her life that she doesn't know how she'll ever recover from. And yet she gets up every day and does it anyway. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that I have witnessed in people as well. And so that was really important for me that we can walk alongside her in that.
Oh, yeah, it's so powerful. And how did you decide to have her journey be from like a department officer to an investigator with a governmental agency? How did you go? Because that's really smart. Oh, man.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, what I like are the contrasts in the book, and any way that I can engage in those contrasts and kind of peel those layers back, I enjoy doing. So to come from Chicago and a whole different environment to Oklahoma to, where everything is different for her. She's never been there. She has no experience there whatsoever.
Right. It's her father's reservation where he grew up, right?
She does later learn something that surprises her, but when we start the book, she's like, I've never been here. And she felt like maybe Her father's association kind of gave her an edge to be able to get that job, but that's as far as she's thinking. And then
Mhm.
once she's there and really becomes immersed in the job and really all of the things that carry a person past doing a job,
Well,
that she really becomes a person who wrestles with where do I belong, and can I belong here, and I want to belong here. So we kind of see this evolution that she has.
right. Yeah. She has a place there too. Carrie's BIA assignment is to find a missing Native woman who has vanished on the reservation while researching a colony of rare beetles that could potentially shut down a profitable business venture. That is so fascinating. I mean, how did you decide on the insect element rather than like, pipelines and stuff like that?
Yes,
Wow.
I love that aspect of it. I think I'm
Right.
just naturally drawn to those things. I grew up on a farm, and so I've spent my whole life with animals of every ilk, and I love researching biology driven information about species. And to be able to research this American burying beetle that's in the book was, I don't even really know how it came to me, except it was just almost downloaded. It feels like I must have run across something that later popped up in
Right.
my mind.
Right.
And the best thing that happened was when I went to my book launch, a woman came through the line to have her book signed, and she has actually worked with American burying beetles at our zoo,
What?
and was like, this is spot on. This is
Oh
exactly what
man.
they're like.
Oh yeah.
So that felt good.
That's a gold recommendation.
Yeah.
Wow, that is, I mean, yeah. How did you, uh, so I guess really, since it is, Mask of the Deer Woman, the next thing I want to know is, what's the significance of the Deer Woman, right? And how did you come up with that element as well?
Yes. Well, I'm a career journalist, and my career was really built on research and
Mhm.
being able to tell other people's stories, which was felt like important work. And I've carried a lot of that into this fiction writing with me. And it was really um, something that came up in my research. But what I liked about it for this story is that it allowed me to reinforce at many different levels not only the danger that women and young women are in this community and others like it, but also that this is a generational danger,
Right.
and that through this story of Dear Woman, we're able to see not only the terrible outcomes of it, but feel some justice for it. And that's what
Right.
I loved especially about Dear Woman, because as the mother of daughters, I have had these feelings over the years of justice, of an impatience to wait for justice through any system. And really, that's the story of a people who often haven't received any kind of justice. And so to have Dear Woman be able to mete out those consequences
Uh-huh.
was really satisfying in the story.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, if there ever is justice, it takes so long, right? Ugh.
Right, right.
Let's let's get into Carrie's character.
Mhm.
She has been through unimaginably hard times. I mean, losing her daughter, her job, her colleagues, her friends, truly everything,
Mhm.
everything. And it's so brilliant how you show us how Carrie progresses throughout her journey. And it's a really short journey. I mean, this is a fast timeline. She's going, throughout the journey, she's trying to right a wrong, right?
Mhm.
And also get a bit of retribution.
Mhm.
This is a very broken woman.
Mhm.
And it's a struggle, each location and scene as to how the book progresses. I mean, it's like honey, just keep going. We feel for her so much.
Yes. Well, it was important for me to show, I think, this particular strength that women have, where the entire weight of the world, their family, their personal experiences, there are moments when it is overwhelming and suffocating. And it takes an incredible strength to get out of bed and keep going. And I think what happens with her is something that is kind of a universal experience, which is she finds something outside of herself that
Mm.
matters. And by pursuing that so diligently, really she awakes in herself something worth living for.
Right. And it's, shall we go into a little bit about the core of her loss, her
Oh,
heart?
sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, right before she left Chicago, her 17-year-old daughter was found dead. In fact, she found her. And as you can imagine, the trauma of this event. And she was a mother that really was diligent in trying to protect her daughter in a
Mm.
thousand different ways. And there was a momentary lapse in her oversight, and then her daughter dies. So you can feel her take all of this on
Right.
herself. And then she does carry out her own justice. And, because she was so well thought of and had friends on the force, she was just kind of secreted away from that situation in a way, and that was a mercy, she feels like. But here she has a chance for redemption, and that story of her daughter really becomes the story of all young women for her as she proceeds in this new career.
Right. Yeah. Trying to right wrongs that can never be.
Yes.
Like, was that, how was that going to that place? I mean, was that a
Mm.
darkness that lingered with you, or did you write
Yes,
through it?
I did. I mean, there were so many elements of this book that are from different parts of my life that kind of coalesced in this interesting way that I don't think I'd really ever be able to replicate that exact moment again. So it's almost like having written this book, it's a time capsule at the time of the things that I was worried about or interested in. And so it's lovely in a way to have that record of it. But what I really liked about Starr was her perseverance. And as someone who's written many wonderful books, you may understand that that perseverance is mirrored in all kinds of ways, from the author who is sitting down to write that story again and again, not knowing exactly what's going to be the outcome.
Mhm.
And that's often reflected in our lives. And at the time, I had all of these daughters going out into the big wide world, and they are capable, brilliant, smart young women, but I'm
Uh-huh.
still their mom. So I had all of these fears. What if I let my guard down even for a moment and something terrible happens where it's just one of those chance encounters or a fluke, or I just wasn't paying enough attention.
Right.
And that really played out in the book.
Hmm. And was what you're talking about is if I let my guard down, is that something that you would thought of previously, or as they're now going out,
Mm.
is that when that idea lit?
That idea really coalesced in the book because I find myself, yeah, I like to just write and see where the writing takes me because it surprises me.
Okay.
And when I start surprising me, then I'm like, oh, we're really on to something.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I think there's so much that bubbles up that I can't use my thinking mind to really get
Right.
down in the right way. And so
Right.
those were some things that I discovered. I'm like, oh, that's what's going on with me. I'm worried, and let's play this out. And it has all of these what if questions for me played out in the book in many ways.
Uh-huh. That's yeah, our subconscious mind is like, we have all of our past and all of our, you know, dramas and traumas along with the happiness. And it's like, yeah, I think it does help us, form on our stories, not as, a nonfiction representation, but
Yeah.
the subconscious mind is just amazing. So Mask of the Deer Woman, oh, it's a thriller and even a little bit of noir undertones, right? But this is also a traditional mystery too. I mean, you present quite a few antagonists for us to love to hate. You want to talk about the bad folk?
Oh, I love my bad people.
I know, me too.
I just adore them. And I really want to write characters who are both bad and good, so to speak, and that have these struggles within themselves. And so we see one of my favorites is this character called Holder, and he is so like awful. And if you know like his past and kind of what's going on with his head, you're like, oh, I can give you some compassion to a certain degree because of what I understand that has happened in your life. And
Right.
really, that's what I love about books, because we get to read what the character says, but to know what a person is thinking behind those words, I think is so beautiful.
Yeah, getting into that mindset, the psychological mindset,
Uh-huh.
that's always so fast. I mean, that's why I write psychological suspense thrillers, because it's like, what's going on with this guy? And why do I love to write them so much?
Oh, I know. It's the
Oh,
unknowable person, right? Like, even though we know someone really well, there are always aspects that are unknowable to us.
right,
And that is so interesting to explore.
right. There was a friend. She was a close friend, and this was my very first manuscript, and it wasn't even published yet. And she's like, oh, and I was just a, you know, big reader, and it's like, well, okay, all right, I'll give it to you, to look at. And she kept bugging me, and she was terrified. She's like, well, I thought you were a really nice person. I was like, this isn't me. But that's how I know I did it right, right?
Yeah, I think so. I know.
You, you,
I was a little worried about that myself.
oh, but you get it so right. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Um, so so many beautiful passages in Mask of the Deer Woman. In many ways, it's a piece of literary fiction too. I mean, how you distinctly describe locations and what's going on in the minds of your fascinating characters, as we mentioned. But did this start out as a mystery, or did you, when you came up with the original idea, or was it going to be a literary piece? What? And then how did the piece evolve to what it is now?
Mm. Well, the truth is, I had no idea what I was writing. This was always the dream. I knew I wanted to write books, and I want to spend the rest of my life writing books. But when I was writing this, I didn't know what kind of book it was really going to be. And then as we went along, I thought, well, what if this happened? What if that happened? And
Uh-huh.
I just tried to really flip situations, because I think life is like that. You're going along, you're thinking everything's going to be okay, and then it can just turn upside down. And so when I started exploring that, it really did turn into a mystery. And I
Mhm.
like that aspect of it, and I also like the magical realism in it, because I
Yeah.
think life is like that. We don't have all the answers. Some years we only have questions. And so to be able to have that reflected back to me in something I'm reading is always a joy for me as a reader. And so to be able to work that into my book felt really right.
That is beautiful. Well, I so love this book. Look at all the marked passages. Look at all
I
that.
love
Oh,
that.
I mean, oh my gosh, I could talk about this book forever. And it has been such a pleasure. Is there going to be more Carrie Starr?
Thank you for asking that. It is now a series. So
Nice.
the second book is on its way to the publisher soon. And I'm so excited to see where she goes and to share her life with everyone.
Go out and get Mask of the Deer Woman, Laurie L. Dove. Read it, love it. leave a review, please. We need reviews so that, spreading the word is crucial. Laurie, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great joy.
Oh, it has been a joy for me. I have been looking forward to this, and I'm such an admirer of your work and everything that you've done. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're sweet. Okay. All right, everybody. Be back next time.